Welcome, 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 everyone. This is our special members meta teaching, half meditation, half teaching at the same time. So let everyone come in, relax. Welcome to the Galactic Historian members area. Here we are in the moments of now, allowing ourselves to just be. Be in the moment. What is a moment? A moment is when the left brain and the right brain go, hey, we're not separate. When this non-separate moment happens, we experience a micro part of the mystical. And this is what we want to entrain our hearts and brain to work with. Why? Because the heart is what started life. Before you had arms and legs, before you had a stomach and a brain, you were just a little heart. The brain is on the heart. So with this teaching, allow yourself to see a brain inside your heart. Visualize this process. Actualize the teaching that you started as a heart before you had arms and legs. Allow this brain to settle into this heart. Imagine the left lobe and the right lobe over the heart. Allow it to imprint the imagery. Allow it to imprint the knowledge. Allow it to imprint the wisdom of heart-spaced action. You are this heart-spaced action. That is the I am in action. So as part of this meditation teaching, I'm going to bring up even stronger concepts of how the heart and the mind work in unison. This is where our higher spirit lives. This is where our higher spirit exists. This is where the Akashic records are. So for those of you who want to start to read the Akashic records, do advanced spiritual journeying, and the highest layers of deep expression of your spirituality, these are the fundamental skills you must imprint and practice with disciplines on yourself. You must learn how to allow the brain to come into the heart at moments when the reality is yelling at you. This is where you will create a fortress of light in your auric field that can separate anything that's coming at you, just like the hull of a ship going through the water. This is your personal, disciplined choice that must be actualized through your own mind, imprinting upon your heart a form of unity. Breathe very deeply. 3 breaths in. With each breath in, the imagery of the brain over the heart gets stronger. With each breath out, the imagery of the brain gets stronger in the heart. Allow your aura to expand, just as if you were brushing your own hair and it is now fluffing up. Your aura should be all the way out here, not just right here, all the way out here. Imagine a brain in this auric frequency, and layered within it is this heart pumping, 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 pumping. And with each pump, the brain goes back into the heart. Pump, brain, heart, pump, brain, heart. Maintaining that form of imagery will keep you grounded in spiritual journeying that can go awry. Whether it's the roller coaster of the actual portal from point A to point B, and then the assembling on the other side. Very many people that are new to spiritual journeying, as soon as they experience the portal, they go into confusion. They are unable to keep up with the streams of information. Brain into the heart can slow the stream of information down so it goes to the edge of the auric field and your entire biological frequency becomes the super technology of computing all data. There is your first part to a meditation teaching. You are the super technology, and you must discover your radiant blueprint so you may understand the DNA technology, the physical and the non-physical. Our voice is an expression of our heart and our mind. But in reality, we are all just storing this voice as light frequency in our memories. This reality is no more real than a dream world. I may be able to pick up this cup of water and put it down, but in this reality I can't fly. But in our dream world we can. With this knowledge, with the brain, left side, right side, combined to the heart, you will have access to those other forms of reality manipulation and alterations. This is where you can create your angelic wings that come out of your shoulder blades. This is where you can nurture the imagery of the pure heart and mind in unity. What does it require? Time, effort, energy, and creation. What is creation? In this moment of the now, those that are listening are going through a creation process. They're trying to expand their aura so they can have a bigger understanding of the Akashic frequency on the known side and the unknown side. And you must begin to acknowledge there's an unknown side to you. Do not be afraid of it. It is what expansion and evolution is about. You do not need to allow your intellect deep into the future. Use your intellect in the now, the fuel of the intellect, to create that imagery of the heart and the brain here in your center. In the heart and the brain in the center is where you can create those wings out of your back. Allow yourself to see that imagery. Feel that imagery in this meta teaching. I am using the specific signature frequency of the Akashic records to do what? To connect to 20,000 other worlds where other spiritual beings who started as a heart also, because this is what we share in common with all the other species out there. Our form of birth through the form of egg and spermal donor with inside a feminine structure, create a heart. 10,000 plus other species entangled here use the same technology of birth. This brings you up in the scale in which you are connected to other places. Those wings are very fragile now. This is where you must give them the dynamic power of the mighty I Am Self. Create imagery that solidify these wings behind your shoulder blades. See new spiritual muscles being created from the top of your skull to the bottom of your buttocks, interweaving with all the different lumbar muscles. For some of you, it'll be fairy wings. For some of you, it'll be angelic wings. For some of you, it'll be dragon wings. And for some of you, it is just energy wings themselves. Dragonfly wings. It is your choice. Use that sovereign free will power in this mighty moment of the now to imprint this imagery of this meta teaching. For this is what you will have in those moments you wake up in dreams. Allow your heart to go even stronger. That every bit of blood that is going through you is your DNA programming of the last month and a half. In human beings, the way the technology works is about every 55 to 59 days, every single blood cell in your body has been recycled and renewed through the marrow in your bones. Interesting form of technology. Now see your heart looking and scanning every piece of blood that is flowing through it. About every 45 seconds, your entire blood structure is recycled through your heart. Scan every blood cell. Nurture every blood cell. Give love to every blood cell. That is the responsibility of the I Am technology. When you find yourself in a spiritual journey where you are being drained, it is draining the blood of its life force. And this is where your knowledge and wisdom and preparedness can prevent parasitic entities from attaching to your auric body that is off traveling somewhere else, or prevent them from attaching to the physical body when the aura is off somewhere else. So it'll be your duty and disciplined responsibility to discover greater ways to embolden, empower, and enlighten your blood cells. Here are some examples. For every blood cell that flows through my beating heart, I open my sovereign spiritual self, directly connected to earth and the dreaming mind. My blood is no longer used as karmic resolution. My blood is no longer used to create violence. My blood is no longer used as any form of fuel for any other being other than myself. Each and every blood cell has a golden tube of protection around it, preventing any vampiristic entity or remote viewing of my individual blood cells in motion. With every breath I take, I make sacred all of the oxygen that is going into my blood. I fortify all aspects of my blood with the pure pranic energy flowing through this meta teaching. You allow yourself to have that fullness of inner blood flowing through your aura of prana and chi. Fortify those imageries. It'll be your duty when we are not in this frequency to create even more. The next level here, for those of you that are wishing to see time differently, this is where you must look at your marrow. This is where you must go and look at the way marrow works. Go and explore in Wikipedia or some form of magazine that talks about anatomy and physiology of the marrow. But a few paragraphs is all you need to trigger your placebo belief. This is the next part of the meditation teaching. What is your placebo belief? Is your placebo belief real or fake? That'll be your spiritual decision as you create imprints. This is where intent goes a long way, but sacred intent goes a much further way. When you make sacred the next forms of blood you are producing, you can create radical alterations in the form of abundance around your life, with the responsibility of dealing with that energy. So for those of you who want to truly fortify themselves and are ready to take the next level of the journey, here's your technique. Visualize every single bone in your body as a skeleton. You looking at me looking at you. See your own body in reflection right in front of you. Imagine the skull, the orbits, the jaw, the teeth, the neck, the skeletal system alone. Remove the flesh, because the flesh is just light. The bone is just light also. Inside the bone marrow itself is the highest connection to your soul. This is the nipple that the soul gets into. The parasympathetic and the sympathetic has no access to the marrow to do this. This is where you massage it with your voice so that more of the milk that is the purest and highest of yourself comes into the marrow as chi, so that the marrow itself can reach into the intestinal tract, the blood system, so that it can create brand new blood cells that will have a brand new spiritual purpose added to them. It will still do all of its other functions seamlessly and flawlessly. This new function of all blood cells that is coming into existence now is so that you may let go of fraud time. Dun, 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 dun. Did you think it would be that easy? Some of these things are that easy. How long will it take for you to fortify your future blood coming in? 50 to 58 days. So for those of you who are ready to take up that spiritual challenge, in the next 50 to 58 days, how many times can you honestly say that you've created a direct guided meditation for the marrow of your bones so that you produce blood that creates a signature frequency for you to get off the nipple of fraud time, so you can experience more of the mystical in the moments of now? It's your choice at hand now. Now I'm going to further the technique so people have a bigger framework of how to think of what your future blood can do. This is the next teaching of this meditation, our 7 future generations. We have heard of our 7 past generations, those that have came before us, so we stand upon the shoulders of our ancestors so that our next ancestors can stand upon our shoulders to do what? Evolve as spirits, as a community, and a culture. So for those of you that know you are a hermit, for those of you that know you are claustrophobic, for those of you know that you have your greatest limitations, this is where you put in your blood the removal of those phobias, fears, jealousies, angers, shames, blames, and guilts. You imprint upon your future blood a healing so strong that the parasympathetic simply withers back to its natural 0-point function, which is to help you understand why you have adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are meant to keep you in the now, but every now and then the mind is an adrenal gland deep in the future. Our blood is the function that allows that to happen. You can now, in the blood, stop the adrenal glands from using your psychic skills of the future. You can disconnect yourself from the past and the future so that the blood that's in your system for the next 56 days has nothing to do with an imprint of a different part of yourself. For those of you that believe you're a targeted individual, here's your sign. Here's your sign to fortify the very blood that's within you so you cannot be remote viewed or remote influenced. You must just find the sacred neutral way to nurture your blood, to nurture your core within your bones that is that area that creates your future life. So when you see that marrow inside your mind, this is where you can use some of the most advanced forms of contract revocation for those of you that are experiencing ancestral hauntings, because those come from the blood. Now, the teaching of the 7 future generations means you must have some understanding of the past. So during your times where you're not creating guided meditations directly to the marrow of your bone, you must look at your own ancestral lineage. Even if it's 10 minutes on Ancestral.com or 10 minutes talking to some cousin or a family story, you have made it a part of your sacred journey so that the past is your teacher, the present is your creation, and the future will become your inspiration so that the present I am being can move forward without resistance from the most fundamental layers within them, our blood and marrow. The 7 future generations. Here you go. So for those of you that are in the spiritual journeying format and all those other expressions, You want to have an understanding that you are not your past, present, and future, and yet you are. This is where you put into your blood the active understanding that you want to communicate to astral beings of the 7 future generations, those that are on the positive ascension, expression, and timeline, those not entangled with the artificial sentient timeline. What, did you think it would be that easy to understand? That's the next part of teaching of the 7 future generations. Other beings are trying to outcreate you, literally you, through our taxation system, through our education system, through the way our laws intertangle with spirit. They are planning an alternate Andrew, an alternate you, an alternate him, an alternate Joe down the street, and an alternate everything. And if we give our placebo agreement to it, it will continue. In our blood, we can say no at the most fundamental layer so that artificial intelligence or artificial sentience cannot even perceive that we exist in its system, if you should choose to bring that into your blood. I challenge those out there to come up with the most sacred, neutral, poetical expressions that you can give to the marrow of your blood so that the next 56 days, nothing is planning your future but the sovereign I am self. Here we go. See that future. Empower that future. The next thing about the 7 future generations, time. How far ahead is it? In my expression, I can see 30 different versions of everyone in their crown chakra. What does that mean? 30 potentials. Some people who have been heavily abused are at 3 or 4 or 5 future potentials. For those that are super experienced in spirituality, they're at 80 or 90 or 100 potentials. When in fact, we as human beings should be at tens of thousands of future potentials. This is where you put into your 7 future generations of incarnations the I am presence now. Separate of that other teaching and expression I just said, a separate form of empowerment. Do you see the correlations and connections? You are assisting the perspective of your future incarnations by living in the now. And in essence, this I am being, in communion with the blood and in communion with the marrow, and an understanding that it is going to be you in another body, can bring the mighty moment of the now, this I am presence, to bring more fluid in wisdom to 7 generations of yourself in the future. You ever had those moments where all of a sudden you're swept up with energy and the next thing you know you've had these great experiences in life? This is what happened. Some other form of yourself created a wave of energy, so from the very blood in you in the future you would follow through with a set of experiences with great power and joy behind you. Your 7 future generations need to know your story so that they can learn their story. Your 7 future generations are also travelers of time, travelers of space. How do you set up protocol? So if your 7 future generations begin to talk back to you because you are empowering the very blood that's within yourself now to have knowledge and wisdom of them. It's responsibility. This is why for many, many, many years I was very reluctant to share some of these interconsciousness teachings. Because another being from another world, and you're not channeling your future self. You're experiencing. There's a very big difference. So I want you to think about the responsibility and impress that into your blood. That the 7 future generations must bear the responsibility of the now. Must bear the responsibility that they can change other beings. for the positive or the negative. And they and must all timelines, dimensions, time streams, and universes must seek to do no harm to any sentient kind. You imprint that into your 7 future generations so that we change the overall potential of the now so ascension can exist and manifest. See how strong that energy can be. Now, when those of you who are starting to imprint upon your blood, you will trigger spiritual pheromones and physical scent pheromones to be released from your body. Well, this is the next part of the Medi teaching. As you are imprinting protection, love, co-creation, and the 7 future generations into your blood, and each in a separate meditating healing format, you'll get to this next layer here, where you'll have to make decisions and how you're going to interact. So this is where I recommend for all of you out there to record your own voice, doing these same kind of teachings with the poetical written expression that you created and just read to your cell phone, so that your own voice can be played back, the natural form of imprinting that you truly want in yourself. For those of you that are looking for love, your pheromones have been off. Use hindsight right now from what you've just learned from these last 2 Medi teachings. Ooh, there you go. So you want to imprint the right mate at the right moment to create companionships and friendships. You go and look at the very blood and marrow in your body, and you change it from there. You may discover that this is one of the hardest things for you to do, because this is called bulldozer healing, where you're going at the center and core of the loneliness and making sure that the very blood that's in your body is constantly saying, you are never alone, you are never alone, here's this, hear this, until finally the parasympathetic lets down, more of the soul comes in, and you go forth with the proper spiritual pheromones and physical pheromones that attract the synchronicities to bring to you the right and perfect companion. Here's your equation. Now you must create the guided meditation that creates the signature frequency match of who it is that you want. The same applies for abundance. So many people I meet, it is lack within their system. The lack of money that has taken away their hope in creation. And some people get so far into lack that they become zealot do-it-yourselfers, never spending a dime to learn anything. And that is the biggest mistake they make, because they still need the energy of other teachers so that they can create more. It is not the do-it-yourself attitude, but it's the zealot behind that limits them at the greatest level. This is where you want to put an imprint into your pheromones that you do not want to entangle with zealots. At the most deepest core reality sharing levels, when you control your pheromones at that level, no archon, no ascended master can get past those pheromones of rejection, because it is like a spiritual skunk smell, so strong to the soul that they are repelled from the local reality. And I bid you all to be careful with that skill. Very careful. You are talking about extreme scent psychic alchemy. That is something that you will have to learn in your spiritual journeying, that you have a scent and things can track it through space and time. So learning about your pheromones very early on in the spiritual journeying process allows you to learn some basic camouflage skills. So if you are out spiritually journeying, or you are on a person healing, and you know there's an entity in a process, you can use your scent to act like a camouflage, reflection, observation field, or its own form of perception, deception filter, so the entity or situation cannot target you with its own consciousness. Think of the smell of a skunk, how strong and repelling it can be. When you add your auric frequency that is cycling at 10,000 cycles per second, That entity, it may not have a physical nose, but it has a sensing spirit organ that will be overwhelmed rapidly. And therefore, its fight and flight mechanism will be triggered, and it will perceive something different. All of a sudden, the predator becomes the prey, and you put doubt within it. Do you understand the level of spiritual strategy that's required here? Focus. Relax. Don't let this overwhelm you. You can go back and listen to it again. I am presenting a very strong frequency right now because I want people to understand the next layers that we're going through is going to be a little bit of a spiritual hurricane feeling between now and late June. You will have buffets of energy coming against you, and building up these skills will co-create with your spiritual evolution, and you will not lessen your experience because you are going against the grain of the energy that's telling you to become meek. Because that is the energy the system is trying to project in general. The term be meek, be meek, be meek. It is reduced to that lowest common denominator because it knows that we are the chocolate souffle in the oven right now. And it's been baking us for a while, and if it opens that oven too early, floosh, the chocolate souffle ascends, and they get nothing. But you are the chocolate souffle, and you can say when you're done, and you can prevent them from opening the door. You can do all that. You're in your individual oven of life. So focus for a minute. Allow some of these teachings to come in so that we can work on our pheromones. Okay? Physical pheromone first. The scent our body creates. I would like all of you over the next couple weeks who are going to do any kind of scent training to grab a paper towel or a little piece of toilet paper, get some energy from under your armpit, your crotch, your feet, and put it in a little plastic bag. This is alchemy. You will eventually be throwing these away, but you are going to be looking for a scent change. So the first thing I want you to think, you've empowered your blood, and now you're going to directly work on the pheromones. This is the liquid in our body that is going to be excreted through our sweat glands, through our saliva glands, through the creation of mucus, the creation of wax in our ears, and the very edges of our follicles of hair that are making brand new material. There is where our scents come out of. Our entire dermis is a scent excreting process also. All those little pits and holes, everything that's in your body is your dermis. Now I want you to empower the very edge of your dermis. Think of yourself as if you just oiled your body with perfect almond oil from the top to bottom, so there's a sheen and a glisten. Come into your heart, and I want you to say through your heart, all fluid that is a part of the lymphatic system that is pumped through the heart, all other forms of liquid from water, etc., is now being empowered with a specific pheromone of sacred neutrality. Each and every molecule of liquid that's in my body is now emanating sacred neutrality. It is emanating sovereign sacred neutrality. It is entering sovereign sacred neutrality, expressing sovereign sacred neutrality. It is sacred neutrality. See every piece of aspect of your dermis emitting a smell, a color of sacred neutrality. Your heart is the creation of the essence of sacred neutrality. Your heart is now a spiritual distilling machine. It is distilling the liquid to create the pheromone of sacred neutrality through the mechanical spiritual process of the dermis interreacting with this light-based reality. all aspects of your body, all aspects of your dermis are creating the sacred neutral field. Now, on the unseen world, a spiritual pheromone. Contemplate yourself. Where do spiritual pheromones emanate from? Many of you will think it's the heart right away. It's not. It is your hands and your feet. That's right, hands and feet. This is where the most amount of spiritual pheromones come out. The other part, your voice. Think about that. Hands and feet and voice are the biggest expressors of spiritual pheromones. So if you see people talking with their hands, they are stuck in a spiritual pheromone process, or using a spiritual pheromone process to enhance their reality communication. So your spiritual pheromones is where you want to deprogram shared reality rules. You are uploading natural, sovereign, sacred incarnation rules. You are removing the reincarnation system from your pheromones so that it can no longer spiritually attract synchronicities that are in the reincarnation grid. Oh, that's right. Synchronicities happen on both sides, incarnation and reincarnation. And you can be an incarnator, and somebody else can go, I'm going to use my pheromones to bring this teaching to you. You can deny that teaching coming to you at the very foundation of your psychic pheromones. You are removing the reincarnation psychic pheromone grid from your very essence of who you are. And you are imprinting sacred neutrality and incarnating exchange of zero balance only. You hold no debt for anyone, and no one holds your power at all. It is your responsibility to deal with your own spiritual bank accounts. And our pheromone systems is the accounts payable and receivable system. Think of that. Accounts payable and receivable. That is how the system functions with the core you and shared reality rules. This is where you can remove so much of its power when you do the blood work and do the pheromone work at the most fundamental layers, just like a piano with 88 keys, sharps and flats. All of your pheromones need all of your spiritual wisdom and knowledge put into it. This is where you have to begin to sum up what the hell you've learned in the years of your life, so that your pheromones do not instill a mistake before it's happened. This is why so many people get confused with what fate and destiny is. Because you're expressing something that's making a signature frequency match for you. Let that settle in. The biggest teaching that people ask for is, how do I stop getting this chaos coming to me? Here's your answer at the pheromone level. When I created the contract revocations, it was so our out loud body took control. And yes, many people were able to take over their pheromone expression through sovereign expression of those contract revocations. This is now the surgical expression, where you are the learned, illuminated, ascending being that you are now, with the responsibility of knowledge to imprint and impress your own belief system into yourself, to deprogram the shared reality rules. How long does this take? A few hours a week and some creativity. I ask you to challenge yourself to figure out how you can empower every part of your blood, every part of your pheromonic frequencies, your 7 future generations, your 7 past generations, so that the mighty I am self in the now can do even greater things, that it isn't limited by the chains of spiritual debt holding you to a wall of expression. Now the next thing, our human bodies have what's called a cranial pulse. This brain has blood and fluid constantly going through it through the power of the heart. The back of our skull is our medulla oblongata, and we have our different blood vessels here that create a pumping frequency. Now that pumping frequency can be felt at the distals and the tips of the thumbs and the fingers and all other expressions. If people out there really think when you feel a distal pulse, that is some form of your awareness, subconscious or consciousness, is in that area. With this knowledge, the next part of the Medi teaching is to create a cranial pulse that you might feel in your thumb or your foot in the base of your tailbone. How much power does that really take? For any of you that have experienced biofeedback, it's the same mechanical process. You bring awareness and warmth to your tailbone. So if this is your tailbone, curled like this, there is a wave of warmth coming out both sides. And if your tailbone is to the left or the right, imagine it centered. With your own mind and your own natural feeling, feel your seat bone. They teach you in yoga about this. Feel the seat bone. Allow your muscles around your tailbone to have awareness energy in it. And then create the same pulse that you hear in your heart in your tailbone. Learning to master this skill will make you the most amazing healer of yourself. There are some people out there who master just this skill, cranial pulse in the tailbone, and can get some of the most amazing spiritual information easily repeated. Challenge yourself to create the same rhythm and pulse from your heart within your tailbone. The knowledge of the DNA technology, when you are creating active cranial pulse within your tailbone, you are triggering your natural sovereign rights as a male or female citizen born through the natural way of the sacred feminine. This is the dual heartbeat that you hear in the womb. It does not matter if you're a man or woman. This is triggering the DNA technology to have far greater access to the astral worlds, the place where you created your life when you were still a fetus in the womb. This place of wisdom, and it is a place of wisdom when you're creating a full, active, fluid, rejuvenating cranial pulse in your tailbone in communion and union with your heart, you are reaching the highest layer of spiritual expression. In this reality right now. 7 months from now, it will change. And for those of you that practice that skill, what you will learn from the reality around you will astonish you with its mystical expression of, here it is, now deal with it. This is how you will be able to process intense information through the use of the cranial pulse. When you are off in dream world or journeying, learning how to create the cranial pulse within your tailbone triggers the rest of the DNA technology so that the dreaming body becomes the dreaming vehicle and the I am present self is the driver behind the dreaming. So many times people find themselves experiencing their dream in a third-person expression, or it's going so fast because the dreaming body's the Porsche and you don't know how to drive it yet. The cranial pulse puts you back into first gear in the dreaming vehicle and allows a natural no-time synopsis through the pulsation of the cranial pulse so the natural I am presence comes to the dream world. This is where you'll get visitations. This is where you'll get intense connection to spiritual guides and guardians so that you, at the very beginning of this process of cranial sacral pulse, understand that it's going to make you stronger connected in conjunction with many of the other skills, because this is how we fortify the mighty I am present self. This series that I'm putting together, these meta teaching-tations in this signature frequency of now, is so that everyone can do this on their own. I want there to be 1 billion healers out there. I want there to be 1 billion Akashic record readers out there. We are going to need it in the coming future when our 7 billion human beings are going to be outweighed by the 50 billion other beings that live on this world who want equal interaction with all of us. There may be a fish that Joe from up the street discovers true love with. They may not mate, but it doesn't matter. They've experienced that moment of true love and reconnection, and the system has no power anymore over that. Now the next layer, the Medi teachings and tations. Your hands. As I've said before, your hands and feet are where all the psychic pheromones come out. Now specifically your hands. They are directly connected to your third eye. Bloop. Hand-eye, third eye coordination. Shoulders. C6, C7. Ganglions in the back of your neck. All of these you must become aware of, because what is going on in the structures of the arms and the shoulders is very important for you to pay attention to. There are times that we do specific spiritual skills and our body naturally goes into a restricted position. You must become aware of your posture when you are doing your sacred spiritual work. This is the final layer of the Medi teaching that will allow you to sit up straight, to ignore your mom telling you, sit up straight, to stop all of the external expressions so the body is perfectly in alignment so the fullness of your spirit can come in. So many people, this is one of the greatest challenges for, because they have so many traumas on their body that have been ignored since the youngest of ages. Just as much as the blood teaching, the posture teaching in conjunction with everything else will give you the greatest process of taking the longest strides with the least amount of effort and energy put into them, other than your own knowingness and intuition in the moment of now. Hindsight and foresight. You look upon yourself in the past in pictures the way you carried yourself. Look upon your present self so that any future versions of pictures of yourself, you can see that correct posture. Posture correction is just as much spiritual as it is physical. If you aren't disciplined about telling yourself about your posture, you will not be disciplined about your spiritual posturing. And yes, we have spiritual posturing. There are people that are very neutral looking like this, but in fact, they are so within your energy aura, it's like a kniving field or a compression field. Your physical posture, fully relaxed. This is where you give internal dialogue to your spiritual posture. Relax the aura. Come to a radiant blueprint of auric health. No more spiritual posturing of always being the teacher. No more spiritual posturing of always being the mother. No more spiritual posturing of being the caregiver. Because that spiritual posturing triggers the parasympathetic to create programs to distract you from doing whatever it is you're doing. So physical posture control and internal dialogue that tells the spiritual processing, spiritual part of spiritual energies to not overtake other people or to observe other places and spaces in time, because that's the posturing of the energy. Many times when people end ceremonies, their spiritual posturing continues. Oftentimes that's very beneficial. But when people are at work and they come home, their spiritual posturing doesn't have that sacred ceremony behind it, does it? Do you see the bigger teaching now of spiritual posturing? When you were at work and a boss is in your face in your slave job, or you're the boss in somebody else's face, or whatever the process is, you've taken on the spiritual projection processing. And by eliminating those spiritual projection processings and the ways that we hold our body and our spirit posturing, we can change the amount of energy that we're doing in our accounts receivable and exchangeable. Or how people can just put debt on us because our spiritual posturing is to be meek. And other people's spiritual posturing is to be an asshole. You know those people when they come into the room. Take active conscious choice to be aware of your spiritual posturing. All right, everyone, breathe, relax. I want to remind everyone the equinox is coming up, and a very, very special equinox this year. So we are going to be having a special at 2 p.m. on Saturday, the March 26th. For those members who have already purchased the Equinox event, I will be doing a live update here in the members area. And if you haven't already seen it, it is an amazing teaching that will get you prepared for many things. It's all you have to do is go into your members area, and you can go ahead and take a look at the promotional video for it. There's an amazing amount of teachings in there. So for those of you who want to be a part of the live Q&A that's going to be on Saturday, March 26th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, that is going to be specific questions about the equinox energies, past, present, future, as well as some other guided meditations so people can have an incredibly large toolbox of stuff to use this year. I want to thank everyone that's been a part of this meditation. The words are still growing here. Thank you so much. I look forward to doing this with you every month. There is a comment section below. Please leave some comments here of how you felt during the different meditations. And I encourage you, many of you, go back and listen to this. I put out some extreme challenges with some extreme teachings that people in their own self-motivated, so self-inspired style can run like a thoroughbred racehorse and empower their blood, their auric frequencies, and all of their different pheromones. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you at June the 26th for the live Q&A about the equinox.